If you've stumbled across this story, then clearly you are an internet user. You understand that there is a beautiful side of the World Wide Web, in the form of amazing artwork easily published through Google, or the social network, and of course, music downloads. However, there is always another opposite side of the spectrum. There is indeed a weird part of the internet. One could say an extremely fucked up part of the internet. An ardent interwebs user such as yourself must surely have seen what it has to offer. A wide range of messed up shit, from shock porn to the suicidemouse.avi video. Yet I'm sure that none of you have seen the oddity that is TheHungerGames2010.wmv. I came across it years ago. I was in Singapore on holidays, and I was at a place called the Mustafa Center. I was panning my eyes across the DVDs on sale, looking to see if there were any early releases. To explain what I was indeed looking for, in some countries DVDs can come out weeks before they are released in Western theaters. For example, Alvin and the Chipmunks 2. My search was rather unsuccessful, and I was about to leave when I noticed the spine of a DVD case that was entitled in black marker, TheHungerGames2010.wmv. I pulled it out and surveyed the casing. It was one of those blank see-through covers with the DVD on the inside, once again entitled TheHungerGames2010.wmv in black permanent marker. I decided to buy it. Surely it could do no harm, and after all it only set me back 50 cents, with the Singapore currency the way it was. While trying to pay for my items, a task in itself at one of these stores, I thought about the odd packaging of the movie. There had been more than one of those DVDs back on the shelf, and all of them had been packed the same as this one. Perhaps it was a bootleg movie, and maybe it was shipped out like this to avoid being noticed by authorities, considering the early release of these sort of movies was illegal. The only weird thing I noticed about it was that the real Hunger Games movie hadn't even been announced yet. This had been shipped way before anyone knew that such a movie was to exist. I shrugged this thought off and continued with my purchase. After buying it, I was unable to watch it, as I had no computer or DVD system back at the hotel. So it lay at the bottom of my suitcase, completely forgotten for 2 weeks. It was only when I was emptying my suitcase back home that I remembered it, and even that was because it landed on my lap when I tipped my bag upside down. Now that I had access to a computer, I slid the disc into the CD-ROM drive and waited for it to boot up. As it started showing the piracy warnings, I could clearly see that it was not professionally produced. The spelling was wrong in some parts, and the overall feel of it wasn't nice. I didn't mind, even though I was slightly disappointed with the fact that it wasn't the real movie that I was seeing. I figured that it would be interesting to see this fan-made film, showing how good a movie any Joe Average could make. Then the main menu popped up. It showed a surprisingly well-acted image of a young girl screaming. My first reaction was a grimace, but, it was nice to see that the producers were sticking to the main idea of the novel, and that was a gladiatorial battle between children. With that last thought running through my mind, I pressed play movie. The film picked up right from the part in the book when they were going into the arena. It seemed to just skip the first half of the book. To create the effect of going into the arena, the kid actors just climbed the stairs into a bright light. It looked like they were climbing some grubby basement stairs. From here, they exit onto an expansive field. Then the cameraman just yelled out begin, and the children run towards each other. Though it seemed rather poorly made, by this time I was just wondering how they would create the illusion of children killing each other. Well, it was simple. They got the children to kill each other. As the game starts, Katniss and some other contestants run into a nearby forest, just like in the book. After this, though, the camera pans back to the other kids fighting in the open field. The first death is that of a young boy who gets his throat cut brutally by another large boy. This scene is viewed from a distance, and when I saw it I sat in awe. How did the producers with no money make such good special effects? The slaughter continues with the girl kicking a boy in the face and stomping on his neck. It was followed by the large boy cutting out another girl's eyes. The camera zooms in on the eyes lying on the ground, where they get squished by a falling body. By this stage, I was almost sickened by the realistic gore. But then I noticed something. All the kids were crying. The dying children were bawling, screaming for help. Even the large boy who was decimating the others was crying, tears running down his cheeks. I thought perhaps this was just bad acting, or maybe the actors were just disturbed by the realism of the violence. The bloody mess continues with more sickening deaths and constant screaming. At one point, a girl, she couldn't have been more than 8, tried to run away. A man standing beside the cameraman yells out to her, ordering her to come back. When she doesn't comply, the man swears and a loud bang is audible. The girl falls down and she doesn't get back up. In the midst of all the other fighting, I didn't see it at first, but when I reviewed the tape, I noticed that in the corner of the camera's view, the tip of a rifle can be seen, and it fires in time with the bang noise. By now, I had become increasingly disgusted by the footage, and I went to press the exit button, but something caught my attention. After the gunshot, the man and the cameraman can be heard talking. It's extremely faint, and I couldn't hear it myself, but I went back to it and turned on the automatic subtitles. The best translation I could pick out of the mixed gibberish was the two men discussing what they would do with the girl who was playing Katniss when the movie was over. I will not repeat what they said, it causes me to feel a bit funny every time I think about it, but after that they mentioned that they would hide the casting video in the DVD's files. The police and I dug through this later on, and I will tell you what we saw, but first I have to finish detailing the contents of the main movie. So the massacre continues for a few minutes, with more killings and eventually ceases with the large boy as the last one left. He stares at the camera and pleads to the men to let him go. His eyes go wide with fear and he takes a step back from the camera. Once again the rifle is visible in the corner of the screen. A hand is also evident now, motioning off to an area in the neighbouring forest. The boy limps off in this direction as a chorus of laughs emanate from the two evil men. It was at this point that all the small details added up in my head. This was clearly a snuff film, where children were actually being forced to kill one another. I watched the rest, just to see what else happened, so I could inform the police to the full extent of my knowledge. That plus, I just couldn't exit. I had to see what happened. The movie continues in the fashion of the book, yet the killings are different, and are staged to be more, well, gruesome. Particularly the scene where the small girl from District 11 dies. When Katniss surrounds her body with flowers, it leads to a completely fucked up, immoral, necrophilia/kid porn scene. I skipped the video to the end at this point. I couldn't watch the rest. In the end, Katniss and Peter are successful, and when the announcer exclaims that only one may survive, the two children turn to each other in horror. The camera focuses on Katniss's reaction, yet a man can clearly be seen on the side of the frame tying Peter down with a rope. When the film pans back to reveal the two children, Katniss pulls an arrow back on her bow and cries for a minute. Then she releases, only for the arrow to thud into the ground next to the bound boy's knee. With a choking sob, the girl tries again, and is successful the second time. Then, under the threat of shooting, she strips down the boy's clothing and sits on his naked body screaming. The video ends there. After this, I told my friends about it. I knew that I should have called the police straight away, but I wanted other witnesses. This wasn't something that I could just keep to myself. I needed someone else to understand. I came over to my house and watched it with me. They were immediately disturbed, and we called the police together. The cops arrived, and a few questions were asked about the orientation of the film. They seemed satisfied with my answers, and then asked to watch the tape. Their reaction was that of disgust and horror. I showed them the garbled speech that revealed the location of the casting video in the disc's files. We searched the files, while some backup technician officers were called in. In a file called castingcoolslol.zip was some videos of the cameraman and the other guy searching through the back alleys for children used in the movie, and the fun they had with them afterwards. They stole them from the streets, and at times even broke into orphanages and kidnapped them. The police took the DVD off my hands for evidence, and I had nothing else to do with the incident from that point forwards. However, one last thing concerning the video did pop up later in my life. My friends who had gone to London was looking for early release films in a small local DVD store in the Soho area. He was one of the few who had seen the tape with me on that interesting day, and because of this he sent me a picture of him in the DVD store holding 5 disc cases, all with the title TheHungerGames2010.wmv scrawled on it in black permanent marker. Along with the picture, the text read, "Why is this still available?" I contacted the police and they informed the London department, but the idea that copies of this smut are still floating around out there sends shivers down my spine. If you ever see a collection of these movies in a small rundown film store, then buy every single one and hand them over to the police. Do not watch it. It's just not right. But who knows? Maybe your curiosity will get the better of you and you'll watch the film. Maybe you'll just be unaware of what lies in the film. If that's the case, I hope you don't actually enjoy it.